The International Association for Near-Death Studies presents NDE Radio, a weekly exploration of near-death experiences and similar encounters with the other side. Now, here's your host, Lee Witting.
Are we forced to be born whether we want to or not? When our number is up, do we get to negotiate for a later date? Welcome to NDE Radio, brought to you by IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. I'm your host, Lee Witting. People often argue with God over when they will die, but few remember arguing against being born. Our guest today is Liliana Rice, who has had the unique experiences of negotiating over whether to be born and also over the time of her death. She was born in Bogota, Colombia on March 4th, 1953, the oldest of 5 children, and lived in other countries, including Canada and Germany, before moving to San Diego, California, where she works with autistic children. She has had a number of premonitions and psychic experiences in her life thus far, and says she knows everything works thanks to the energy of love. Liliana, welcome to NDE Radio.
Yes, good morning, Lee.
Good morning. You have the unusual memory of a pre-birth negotiation over whether to be born or not. Could you please tell our listeners what you remember about that?
Yes, of course. I remember kind of showing up in this special place, and I know it's special because it was a place of peace, calm, happiness, I will say, happiness, tranquility. And there is some beings already there. They're scattered around this area. There's no floors or windows or chairs. It's just a place. And I know it's my turn, so I approach this small group of beings. They are standing over here in my right side. And I understood that I had to be born, that I had to come to Earth. And I say Earth because somehow I knew about the density and the contrast of what Earth really means. And also that I had to feel happy, feel sad, feel worried, or had to sleep, eat, and all these things that we normally feel on Earth. So they kind of told me I had to come, I had to be born, and I protested. I remember clearly saying, no, that is too difficult for me. I don't want to do that. But everybody looked down, except one. He was looking at me at my spiritual eyes, and it said, "It's okay. It's gonna be fine." So whenever I am here on Earth and I have any type of worries or concern, I go back to that moment, and I assure myself that everything is gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry.
Would you call these beings angels? Did you have is there any way to describe them?
I will call them spiritual beings. I didn't see any wings or halos. They were translucent, and I don't recall seeing like their feet. But I will call them spiritual beings.
Do you think the fact that you knew that life on Earth was difficult was some indication that you'd had previous lives here, a past life experience of some sort?
Oh, that has been one of my questions. One of my questions is why I had to come. No, it was a reason. Did I didn't behave well, or for the contrary? I always, I don't know what it was. And that was one of the questions that I had for my parents as soon as I was able to communicate with them properly. So at the age of 5, I asked my parents, how come you brought me here? I was kind of blaming them a little bit, you know. And my father, who was a doctor and very, I don't know, he didn't believe in anything really. He was upset about the question. Right away he said, if someone was born out of love, it was you. Like, what are you talking about, no? So I decided not to talk much about it after that.
Yeah. I think it's quite a guarantee that one of those spiritual beings said that everything was going to be okay. It's almost a warranty on the life that you were about to live. Do you think that we are given numbers and we line up like an assembly line to be born, and your number had come up?
I think we reach certain stages, and also we have to learn. Like my whole life, I always had this urge that I have to read, I have to learn. I want to learn about everything, about cooking and painting and ceramics and children and psychology. And I even study with Dolores Cannon. She passed away last year. How to do hypnosis. So different things. I go into different areas, and it's like a need. So I think part of coming to Earth or reincarnated is to grow, to learn. I think it's a beautiful thing, actually.
Yes. So you think that your fear was unwarranted then, that you shouldn't have been afraid to be born?
Maybe it was like, yes, you should have concerns, but trust yourself. That's the feeling that I got. Like, trust yourself. And I think that it has been one of my biggest lessons here on Earth, is to love this life, to appreciate myself, to trust me, to trust myself.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any notion of what stage of your mother's pregnancy you entered, your soul entered the body, the body of the baby that was being born? Do you think it was halfway through the pregnancy, or right at the beginning, or just before birth?
Lee, that's a very good question. I asked myself a couple of times that, because I came to a point one time that I said, should I have children or not? Mm-hmm. Should I make them go through what I went through? No? So I did a lot of thoughts on this field. But I think the soul has different, let's say, grades. I think it's called like grades. And it develops with the body. Otherwise, the body is not going to be able to take it all at once. No? So I think it's from the very beginning. From the very beginning of the conception. And little by little, the soul is going to gradually develop together with the body until we're born, and then, I think it has to be gradually somehow. It's too much energy, too powerful.
That's a very interesting idea, that it happens over time. I'd never thought of it that way before. Your dad was, he was a medical doctor. He was also, it seems like, an idealist, a crusader, and he was interested in justice in the world, and got involved with Che Guevara. And was that part of the challenge of being alive let me put it this way, was it part of the challenge of being you? Did that stress your family out?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely, because since I was, I still am, the oldest one, he had this need of passing to me, giving me all kinds of information about life and science, and he told me never to believe in witches or angels or Santa Claus or no, and this is real life, and this is the way it is. He was a little crude, but he had this need to pass this information to me. And he was very active as a father, a beautiful father. He never hated anyone. He never spoke bad about anyone. He was a very special person. But then radically, when I was 9, at this time, he decided that maybe communism was the way to go, and to help Colombia, to help every child that didn't have a ball to play with, or free education, or free medicine. Those were his children also. So that's the last time I saw him, when I was 9. And we briefly saw him one more time when I was 12. And at this time, we are in his city, which is Barranquilla, in the Caribe area in Colombia, the north part of Colombia. And he told me, don't go to sleep. Make sure you stay awake. I need to talk to you, but after your siblings are asleep. So I waited. I heard his steps on the corridor later on. So I got up, and he said, there is a plane leaving to Russia at 2 in the morning, and I want you and your siblings in that plane, because over there you're going to have the best education possible. So at that time I was 12, and my response was, I haven't seen you for 3 years, and the only one that has been taking care of us is Mama, so is she coming too? And he said, no, she has her mindset, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I said, well, you cannot do this to her. You just can't. So he fell on his knees, and he cried like a baby, like a toddler. And I turned around, and I went back to bed. And I was very, very grateful that he didn't force us to do such a thing.
Yes. Do you think we get to pick our parents before we're born?
I think so. I really think so. I think we pick up a lot of things when we come here to Earth. One of my challenges has been my siblings. My siblings, because especially the 2 older boys. My sister and I, we process all this, studying, talking about it, and forgiving, and trying not to judge, and instead of believing what my mother's side of the family used to tell us about him, making our own conclusions and say, wow, actually he was extremely brave. Because when he decided to dedicate his life for all these children in Colombia and give up his own family, sacrificing his own mother also, and everybody, it was, someone has to be extremely, extremely brave.
Yes.
Because we knew all along that he loved us. Now, for the 2 boys, my 2 brothers, has been a different issue. They're fathers themselves, and they don't understand it. So they judge him extremely harsh, and there's no forgiving. And I have tried in many, many ways to make them understand that we don't have to know everything. We don't have to understand everything to be able to forgive.
Well, without a belief in angels or the hereafter, your dad probably felt that any change, any justice would have to be found here on earth, and that's what he was working toward. And you've had a deeper insight into the eternal nature of our souls. I wanted to ask you, we have to complete the second half of this because at some point you were approached by some beings that you felt were going to take your life away. Tell us about that.
Yeah, living in Germany, I developed a condition that is called bronchostasis in my right lung. So when I get sick, when I get just a regular cold, I go through very difficult times. And it seems like the only cure is surgery, but I'm not ready for that. So it was 2013, and I got a summer cold. I'm not breathing well. I am a little feverish, and I'm very, very sick. So it's around 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing that's the time. And I felt this presence in my right side of someone like looking at me or calling my attention. So I opened my eyes, but I'm sure it was my spiritual eyes because otherwise I would have woken up my husband. My husband is right there. He wakes up very easily. If I cough or turn, he's always very concerned. So I see this presence there, these two beings there, and immediately I know why they're there. So I cover my right side of the face with my hand, and I'm just talking to them and saying, no, I'm so sorry, but my Sebastian is still very young, and my husband is he got married with me when he was 41, so he had a lonely life, and we're very, very happy together. So I'm talking about him, and I'm talking about the other children and the 10 grandkids, and I'm reading to God my list, and give me another chance, and I'm not ready. I have a lot of things to do yet, So I kind of peek again through my fingers, and I see these beings vanish. They just left. They vanished. They gave me a second chance.
Did you do you think there was any similarity between those beings and the beings that you saw before you were born?
Oh yes. And when you are in this place, in this dimension, or nobody has to tell you anything. You just know everything. You just know. You recognize them. You know who they are. Maybe not necessarily with a name or anything, but you don't feel like a stranger. Did they talk to you, or did you just talk to them? I talked to them, but I knew exactly why they were there, and yeah.
How old were you at that point?
In 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm 62. I was 58.
Okay. Well. All right.
Yeah.
So you were still relatively young. You could make a good case for continuing your life.
I know.
Now,
I know that I won't live like my mom. My mom is 84. She's going to be 85 this year. But she ate real food. She had real milk. She's so strong. But I know I'm not going to live that long. I can tell, no? But yeah, I wasn't ready. Let's put it that way. I wasn't ready.
Do you think that because you protested against being born, that they were coming for you early just to give you a break?
No, I don't think so. I think we have certain times, maybe a few during our lifetime, and if let's say we both agree, and it is the time, then it's our time. But if we can request a second chance, and believe me, I'm not afraid of dying. And but at the same time, I love my life. I have an interesting life. I'm very, very happy. But and if it wouldn't be for my family, I would have gone. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
You've had some psychic events in your life, or I guess mystical events, we might say, where a neighbor who had just died came to visit you?
Yes, actually it happened twice to me. And one thing that is interesting is that neither of those two people were very close to me. One of them was the neighbor that you're referring to. We've been neighbors for, I think, 19 years, going to be 20 years. But this type of neighbors, they don't like to talk to anyone. They had a pair of twins that went to school with my own son, and my son told me not to talk to them. He said, "Don't ask anything, Mama. Just don't talk to these people." So it's kind of a very cold and distant relation. But one day, my husband and I were walking the dog, and they were walking their dog as well, and we happened to meet behind the houses, and he apologized for his son's behavior. They always were kind of rude. So I was totally surprised, speechless. My husband too, like, whoa, he's talking to us, no? So I said, well, don't worry, it's just kids growing up, no? And 2 weeks later, he passed away from a heart attack. And I was in the kitchen. I didn't know about this, but I felt his presence. And it's like, vroom, vroom, it comes fast and goes fast, But enough time to me to know, just my soul, it knew exactly who it was and what happened to him. So later that afternoon, my husband told me that he passed and they were just taking his body. And I said, he came here, he said goodbye to me. I don't know if my husband believed me or not. I think he does, but I certainly not only felt him, I saw him. And another occasion, I was in Freiburg with a sister-in-law. And it's springtime. Everybody is happy. The sun is out, really. And they have cherries, fresh cherries. There's music in this plaza. It's a happy moment, and I'm having a good time with my sister-in-law. And suddenly I felt that an aunt, it's a great aunt, just died. So I told her, Mireya, my Aunt Anita just passed away. But I knew who and what and everything out of the blues, totally out of the blues. So we went home, and suddenly enough, I got a phone call from my husband saying, Aunt Anita just passed away, and I wanted you to know. But although they were five girls, my great aunts, my grandmother, and her sisters, there were a total of 5. We were not that close. we were curious with each other and very polite with each other, but I was closer to the other ones more than to her. You know?
Do you feel there's some sort of an ongoing or maybe even eternal connection that we have between relatives, that when we die, we perhaps not only see them there, but perhaps get reincarnated with different relationships? Your mother could be your daughter, or your father could be your an uncle, that sort of thing?
Lee, I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm trying to behave here the best I can and do all the right things so I don't have to come back. But it could be in maybe in other dimensions, in other places. I definitely believe that we will be related, and we're all one, so it doesn't matter. We are really connected.
That's true.
Yes, and although, and I love physics, I love science, so I read a lot, and I always knew about this connection, but I never felt it. Actually, the first time that I was totally integrated and merged into this how should I describe it, in this manner, was one day, and it was actually not too long ago, maybe a year ago. I'm standing next to our dining table chair. I'm standing right there, and somehow I felt this connection with the chair, the table, the view outside, the trees and the plants and everything, and I just got this rush of connection, you know? So
yes.
It's not only knowing, but it's feeling it, and I felt it strongly. So, and it's many of us. So, yeah, of course, in other dimensions, we will find people that hopefully, like I said, for me at least, not here on Earth again.
Now, I will also, Liliana, I want to ask you, you work with autistic children. Do you feel a spiritual connection to them? Do you feel that there's a way they can communicate with you psychically as well as in the ordinary ways?
Yes. I definitely do. I try to connect the vibration of my heart with the vibration of their heart. For me, is soothing, and it's soothing for them. And I know we develop a very close relation. And it's funny, Lee, you know, I have a grandson that is autistic. Actually, he gave me this beautiful present because through him is how I was able to start working with autistic children. But although I have this connection with him, I don't have the time to spend as much as I wish with him. But definitely the connection is there, is very powerful, and I understand that they chose to come here to Earth to work out of that, no, having autism.
Yes, and there's so many more of them. You know, as time goes by, whatever is causing this problem seems to be getting worse and worse because there's many, many more children being born who become autistic.
Yeah.
Well, Liliana, we are just about out of time here for today, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us and giving us a glimpse into the world of Prebirth. If you'd like to listen again to this or any of our past shows, I'm speaking now to the listeners, just go to our website at nderadio.org. And for more information about the work of IANS, check out their website, iands.org. And tune in next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for more NDE Radio. This is Lee Witting saying thanks for listening.